Yeah? Where's the first one?
Yeah.
All right,
You got ice on your chest?
you know where you are? You know what state you're in?
Yeah, California.
Okay. What city are you in?
No way I would want to do that.
Yo, paramedic.
Yeah.
Before we go,
Chaos erupted everywhere after Jake Paul got punched by none other than Joe Rogan. Yep, you know Joe Rogan, the guy behind the mic on The Joe Rogan Experience. But guess what? Half of you probably don't know that Joe used to throw punches too. And let me tell you, his hits are still brutal. This guy is Tyson's biggest fan and the ultimate supporter. So, when Jake decided to run his mouth and talk crap about Tyson in front of Joe, well, let's just say Joe wasn't having any of it. Next thing you know, Jake's in the hospital with a shoulder detachment. It's been 2 days now, and he's probably regretting every word. But what were the exact words that made Joe Rogan go full Hulk mode on Jake Paul, you might ask? We'll get to that juicy part later. First, let's rewind a bit and set the stage. So, there was this super exclusive hush-hush gathering with Joe Rogan, Jake Paul, Ryan Garcia, and other big names. It was like the Avengers of the fighting world, and nobody saw this reunion coming. The event was shrouded in secrecy, held behind closed doors, and until now, it's been one of those if you know situations. You can think of that place as a dimly lit, ultra-luxurious setting where the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Even at that time, Jake Paul has never been one to hold back, and his latest provocations against Mike Tyson were no exception.
Yeah, the news is true, folks. I, Jake Paul, will be fighting Mike Perry, Tampa, Florida, July 20th.
In the wake of announcing his fight with Mike Perry and canceling the much-anticipated bout with Tyson, Jake didn't shy away from questioning Tyson's relevance in the boxing world. "Tyson's a has-been," Jake declared at the gathering, his voice dripping with condescension. "Fighting him would be like fighting an old man in the park. What's the point?" The room fell into a stunned silence, as if the air itself was sucked out by the audacity of Jake's words. As Jake continued his tirade, he didn't stop at Tyson. Turning his attention to Joe Rogan, who was sitting quietly at the edge of the room, Jake accused Rogan of never supporting him. "Joe's stuck in the past," Jake sneered. "He's never given me any credit because he's biased towards the old school guys. He can't stand the fact that someone like me is shaking up the sport." Jake's accusations were direct and unapologetic, creating an immediate ripple of tension among the attendees. Look how he is enjoying after saying all these fluff. Joe Rogan, known for his composed demeanor, initially listened in silence. However, as Jake's provocations grew more pointed, Rogan's expression began to harden. The tension was palpable, thickening the air in the room. Rogan's eyes narrowed as he leaned forward slightly, his posture shifting from relaxed to alert. It was clear that Jake's words were hitting a nerve. The atmosphere in the room became electric, charged with the anticipation of an impending confrontation. Notable figures like Ryan Garcia, who had been conversing animatedly just moments before, fell silent, their eyes darting between Jake and Rogan. The room was filled with a mix of shock, curiosity, and a hint of fear. No one had expected Jake to go this far, and the gravity of his accusations against a respected figure like Rogan was not lost on anyone. Jake continued, seemingly emboldened by the silence. "Joe's been riding on his reputation for too long," he said. "He talks big, but he's just another guy who can't let go of the past. He's jealous because I'm the future of this sport and he can't handle it." The boldness of Jake's claims left the attendees in a state of disbelief. Some exchanged nervous glances while others remained frozen, eyes wide in anticipation of Rogan's response. Finally, Rogan spoke, his voice steady but laced with a cold edge. "You've got a lot of nerve, Jake," he said, his gaze fixed firmly on the young fighter. "You think you can come in here, disrespect legends like Tyson, and talk down to people who've been in this sport longer than you've been alive? You've got another thing coming." The tension continued to escalate as Jake refused to back down. "Respect is earned, Joe, not given," he shot back. "And Tyson hasn't earned it in years. He's washed up and everyone knows it. Just because you're too blind to see it doesn't mean I am." Jake's bravado was unyielding, and it was clear that he was enjoying the attention, reveling in the controversy he was stirring. The reactions from the other attendees varied. Some, like Ryan Garcia, looked visibly uncomfortable, shifting in their seats and avoiding eye contact. Others seemed fascinated by the unfolding drama, leaning in to catch every word. The mix of shock and intrigue in the room created an almost surreal atmosphere, as if everyone was watching a high-stakes drama unfold in real time. Rogan, maintaining his composure, responded with a steely calm. Jake's provocations had undeniably ignited tensions, transforming what was supposed to be a casual gathering into a battlefield of words and egos. The atmosphere in the room was thick with unresolved conflict, and it was clear that the confrontation had left a lasting impact on everyone present. And then came the moment you've all been waiting for when, without warning, Joe Rogan stood up, his face a perfect picture of controlled rage. It felt like the distance between them vanished in an instant. Before anyone could blink, Rogan threw a brutal punch right to Jake's chest. Jake's body jerked back, his face a cocktail of shock and pain. Everyone else in the room quickly followed suit, shouting in alarm and confusion. The room, once filled with tense anticipation, exploded into pandemonium. Security personnel and a few other attendees jumped in to stop Jake from retaliating, forming a human shield between the two. Jake, clutching his chest, staggered backward. The pain was written all over his face. His bravado evaporated in an instant. "What the hell, Joe?" he gasped, his voice barely more than a whisper as he tried to catch his breath. The concern from everyone around him was immediate and genuine. Ryan Garcia, with his arm around Jake's shoulder, tried to steady him while others frantically called for medical help.
Yeah?
Where's the first?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
You got
solar
ice on your
plexus.
chest?
you know where you are? You know what state you're in?
Yeah, California.
Okay. What city are you in?
Yeah, we want to do that.
Realizing how serious the situation was, they knew Jake needed to get to a hospital ASAP. Ryan and a few close friends helped Jake out of the room and into a waiting car. The ride to the hospital was tense, with Jake's labored breathing and pained expressions making it clear just how bad it was. Ryan, sitting next to him, watched him closely, worry etched on his face. When they arrived at the hospital, Jake was rushed into the ER. Doctors and nurses quickly assessed his condition, noting the impact of the punch on his chest. Ryan and the others waited anxiously in the waiting area, their concern growing with every passing minute. The hospital staff, aware of Jake's celebrity status, moved swiftly to ensure he got the best care while maintaining his privacy. The hospital visit was a whirlwind of medical exams and tests. Jake was put through the ringer to make sure there was no serious damage to his chest or heart. The medical team worked diligently, their expressions serious as they monitored his vitals and evaluated his injuries. Jake, though in pain, stayed conscious and cooperative, answering questions as best he could between breaths. Ryan Garcia, acting as both friend and liaison, kept Jake's family and team updated on his condition. As the doctors completed their evaluations, they gave a preliminary report on Jake's condition. The punch had caused significant pain and bruising, but thankfully there were no immediate signs of severe internal injury. Jake was advised to rest and undergo further observation to make sure there were no delayed complications. The relief among his friends was palpable, but the incident had clearly left a lasting impact on everyone involved. Now you might think I'm exaggerating Joe's one punch, but trust me, it's no joke. Joe Rogan isn't just a commentator or a comedian. The guy's got an extensive background in martial arts and combat sports that makes him a force to be reckoned with. Rogan started practicing martial arts at the tender age of 14, and by the time he was 19, he was already a Taekwondo instructor. Oh, and did I mention he won the Massachusetts Full Contact State Championship for 4 consecutive years? Yeah, Joe's not someone you mess with. Rogan also holds a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Eddie Bravo's 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu and another black belt under Jean-Jacques Machado. This guy's dedication to martial arts is on another level, and his kickboxing skills only add to his impressive fighting resume. Comparing Joe's decades of rigorous training to Jake Paul's relatively short boxing career is like comparing a master chef to someone who just learned to boil water. Jake Paul only began his professional boxing career in January 2020, and sure, he's had a few wins against people who aren't primarily boxers. But victories over a fellow YouTuber, an ex-NBA player, and some MMA fighters don't exactly put him in the same league as Joe Rogan. Not to mention, Joe's punch delivered with precision and power was a brutal reminder of Jake's limitations. Think about it. If Jake struggled with a punch from Rogan, who's a martial artist and not a professional boxer, how could he possibly handle the sheer ferocity of Mike Tyson? Tyson's a former undisputed heavyweight champion with a career spanning over 2 decades. Comparing Tyson's explosive power to Jake's relatively novice status is like comparing a lion to a house cat. And let's not forget the expert opinions. Former boxing champion Roy Jones Jr. said, "Jake's got heart, but he's not ready for Tyson." Joe's punch was a wake-up call. It shows he needs more time in the ring before he steps up to that level. Even MMA fighters are weighing in. Daniel Cormier, former UFC heavyweight champion, noted,
Well, you're not going to see Mike get hurt against Jake Paul. That's why they put on 16-ounce gloves and headgear. They didn't put that on to protect Mike. They put that on to protect Jake.
and UFC fighter Sean Strickland added,
"You are a disgrace of a man. You are the epitome of weakness. You are the scum of the earth. The fact that you even have a platform or anything of that nature is a slight on society. And if I ever encounter you in real life, I hope that I just don't lose my shit and go to prison."
Tyson Fury, the current WBC heavyweight champion, also shared his 2 cents.
The guy's 57 years old, but he's a former undisputed world heavyweight king, and one guy plays computers for a living, and he's come to boxing about a year ago, so pretty even match. Listen, from being a kid on the Disney Channel to fighting Mike Tyson, who wouldn't want to do that?
Paul's got to bear all these words, and here's why. This dude is like a walking headline in the boxing world, not just for his loudmouth persona, but also for his, let's say, unconventional approach to training. Sure, he's made some noise with his fights, but when it comes to his commitment to training, people aren't exactly convinced. Jake claims he's all in, with a hardcore training routine, big-name coaches, and sparring sessions with experienced fighters. His routine supposedly includes strength training, cardio, and technical drills. Sounds impressive, right? But then there's the elephant in the room. Jake's consistency, or lack thereof, due to which he can't stand a punch from Joe. One major gripe people have with Jake is his knack for getting distracted, especially by his love for social media antics. It's like the guy can't decide if he wants to be a boxer or an internet prankster. His social media is jam-packed with pranks, challenges, and promotional stunts that make his actual training look like an afterthought. This has led many to wonder if Jake's really serious about boxing, or if it's just another way to boost his brand. Take his highly publicized feud with Floyd Mayweather, for example. In May 2021, Jake snatched Mayweather's hat during a promo event for his brother Logan's fight against Mayweather. Sure, it made headlines and got everyone talking, but it also took the spotlight off Jake's own training. Critics argue these stunts are fun to watch, but take away valuable time from what should be serious boxing preparation. Now let's put Jake's prep next to a legend like Mike Tyson. Tyson's training was hardcore. He lived and breathed boxing from a young age, thanks to his trainer Cus D'Amato. Tyson would be up at 4 a.m. running miles before breakfast, and then spend hours in the gym honing his technique, sparring, and building strength. His evenings are all about mental prep and studying opponents. Tyson's training camp was a boot camp, a far cry from Jake's more laid-back, social media-filled approach. Jake's camp seems more like a circus compared to Tyson's military-style regimen. Sure, Jake puts in the hours, but the discipline and laser focus that Tyson had are noticeably absent. For example, while prepping for his fight against Tyron Woodley in 2021, Jake was seen pulling off elaborate social media stunts and promotional activities. Priorities, Jake? You might have heard this news on this channel first because we are all about keeping you in the loop with the latest trends and drama. So, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, because you won't find this kind of juicy content anywhere else.